Been outside shooting so much today with the new GFX100 that I'm sunburned. I think I've got sun poisoning, where you get too much sun in one day. So, here's the three sectors of digital photography. Not going to count micro four thirds because that question kind of answers itself. So, we have DX, FX, and over here we have medium format, and that includes Hasselblad, Phase 1, and Mamiya is not a contender anymore. Pentax will probably soon be out of business. And of course we have Fujifilm. Sector number 1, DX. Everybody loves their XT2 or XT3 or their XT30. And of course, I always give logical, accurate answers when I'm asked questions like, well, what should I use if I mostly shoot landscape photography? Or if I'm doing indoor wedding events. I'll say, well, I would recommend an FX camera. General portraiture, obviously the field of view on an FX, it's easier. There's just no denying that. For event photography and general portraiture, obviously, not that you can't do great portraiture with any DX camera. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about what is most ideal. Obviously so. And we're not talking about price here. So the question is that why didn't Fujifilm come out with a full-frame camera? And of course there's many reasons. The number one reason, it would be incredibly insane and illogical. It would be an endless battle that they would never win and not make any money from, because Sony and Nikon and Canon are murdering each other on the full-frame battlefield. I mean, that would be incredibly ignorant. It's like throwing money down a bottomless pit. I mean, anybody with five brain cells could come to that conclusion. So the only reason I grew up with medium format, I mean, my first cameras were medium format, and I'm extremely used to medium formats, and that's what I used in photography school. Also 35mm, but I mean, I had a pair of 6.7 Pentaxes, I owned Mamiyas, I owned a couple Hasselblads at one point in time. Even shot large formats. But medium format digital is for one thing only, ultimate image output, and that's all it's ever been. That's the reason why I've called medium format an earth mover. Have you ever seen those earth-moving vehicles that get like 1 mile to the gallon and their top speed is 15 miles an hour? They do one thing and they do it better than anything else by miles and miles. That's move earth. You don't buy them for their speed, and like the tires on them are like $200,000 a piece for each tire, which is absolutely astonishing. So yes, the GFX100 is $10,000, but the question then becomes, well, compared to what? I mean, the Mamiya Leaf Credo was $18,000, and that camera is slower than a constipated turtle. $10,000 for a working photographer is actually extremely cheap. The one thing that astounded me about this camera, and I had to update the firmware as I told you in a video yesterday, is that this camera, and this is a bold yet accurate statement, is as fast as the last firmware on the XT2 with, say, for example, the 18 to 55. And that is just blasting fast for medium format. I mean, that's just incredible. Period. So now we have Fujifilm up here in DX land, and we have medium format over here, and of course it's best for these things, and a couple of others. Landscape, nothing's going to beat medium format for landscape, period. I mean, that's it. Portraiture, high-end portraiture, of course. We're not talking about general portraiture, which you can obviously do with a DX or an FX camera. Everybody that's actually bought a GFX 50S or 50R said the same thing. My God, these landscape images or these portrait shots are just incredible. Architecture, product photography, huge boon for product photography. Medium format has always been synonymous with product photography and commercial photography. What do I mean by commercial photography? Business shots, interior, exterior, for corporate websites and pamphlets and brochures. They absolutely demand medium format. They do. It's not to say you can't do it with a DX or FX camera, but a lot of discerning clients won't even let you do the job unless you're using medium format. They're not gonna, have you take shots of their $1 million facility with your little dinky DX or FX camera. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. So now we have this region right over here. So we got 1, 2, and 3, DX, FX, and medium format. Medium format over here was never for a low light handheld. It was never for indoor wedding ceremonies. It's just not possible. You can't use a flash. I mean, forget about it. Shutter shock and camera shake, just forget about it. For event photography, no. Especially events where you're not allowed to use a flash, forget about it. Medium format, no. Everybody loves the output on medium format, but nobody was mistaken that knew anything about photography or cameras that medium format was for low light handheld or wedding photography or for event photography. So now we have Sector 1 and Sector 3 occupied by Fujifilm and a few others, obviously. So now do we need an FX sector to cover what is really the domain, not entirely the domain, obviously. So low light handheld, wedding photography, an event. And here we have ultimate image output on the GFX100 with the entire sector of all of this. So now everything is covered by crop sensor and medium format. That's just undeniable. Now, is the GFX100, ultra blasting fast? Can you shoot 10 frames per second? Shooting squirrels on crack, or bicyclists rounding the corner at 30 miles an hour? No, that's not the case. That's still for DX. Like your XT3, your XT2, your XT30. But this is a revolutionary camera. I'm not making, an extravagant or fanboy statement. This camera is as fast as the last firmware on the XT2. That's absolutely unbelievable. And take my word for it, or don't take my word for it. Find out yourself when it's available. But and obviously too, the speeds are going to improve on it. I mean, God knows how many firmware updates Fujifilm is going to issue on the new GFX100, but you could be sure that it's going to be quite a lot. But that's astounding. So now the sector that everybody would turn to for FX, because you could do it with DX, but it's not ideal. People say, well, what's wrong with doing portraiture or wedding ceremonies with DX? Absolutely nothing. I'm talking about what is ideal. Someone says, well, I only do landscape photography. Well, FX if you can't afford a medium format camera. For general photography, for event photography, I mean, I've done an enormous amount of 1/10 and half a second handheld, many times even one hand-held photography with this. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, Fujifilm claims 5.5 stops of anti-shake on the GFX100. I mean, I've done a lot of shots at a half a second, a tenth of a second, handheld. Just brutally sharp. So now we have this new sector here. This isn't my position that this is a revolutionary camera. It's not. It's a fact. Medium format, nobody's medium format has come anything close to this. Most of you have never shot a medium format camera. I've got better hand-holding skills than most people do. But no matter how good your hand-holding skills are, it's an absolute undeniable fact that you only want to keep it at 1/125th of a second or higher for shutter shock, because we have two huge first and second curtains on medium format cameras, and you just don't damn shoot the camera handheld at 1/125th or lower, generally speaking, right around there roughly. You just don't do it. With this, you could be half drunk, not that I have experience with that. With this, you could be half drunk and take a one handheld shot at 1/10 of a second, indoors, no speed light, no nothing, and the shot will come out brutally sharp. That is absolutely off the hook, unheard of. It's obnoxious in a good way. When I updated the lens firmware day before yesterday on this, and the lens would now do a bi-die communication for face detect autofocus with the GFX100. I mean, I was just shocked. It's like, my God, this camera is actually fast. So now, not only does Fujifilm not have to compete with FX because it's a bloody battlefield where Sony and Nikon and Canon are killing each other and there's no profit to be had, we have ultimate image output taking the slot of what FX can do. And you might say, well, the camera's $10,000, I can't afford it. That's actually extremely cheap for medium format, and compared to everything else, it's insanely cheap. I know most of you are not going to buy a $10,000 camera. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is. People keep asking me if I'm going to buy this camera, and I've actually been saving for this camera for almost a half a year now, and I've got 3 more things I'm selling to purchase this camera when it becomes available. So yes, I've said that before many times. Yes, I'm getting the GFX100. Obviously, I can't buy it yet. People say, you're talking about a camera you don't have. You're talking about other people reviewing cameras that they don't. Yeah, well, there's a difference here. I can't actually purchase this camera yet. Neither can you nor anybody else. So, but I have it for review for the past several days, and I've shot the hell out of it. And will continue to do so for the next 2 or 3 days. But that's astounding. These 3 circles here have really been the domain of most of FX, and that's not the case anymore. Not with this beast. It's not necessitated to be the case. So Fujifilm now has it covered with DX and medium format, and they've been telling you that over and over and over again. Fujifilm said, we don't need FX. The real answer is 2-part. One, it's a fight they'd never win, and it would be no profit. And obviously they've been developing this camera for at least 2 years. Every camera company, whatever camera they come out with, they've been working on it for 2 years at least, if not more. So Fujifilm knew how fast this beast would be, how great the IBIS would be, and these sectors of FX, predominant use of what, 90% or more for low light handheld photography, wedding ceremonies, and events, it was all the domain of FX. It doesn't have to be anymore. Fujifilm has this covered with this camera. So, anyway, thanks for watching. I hope I didn't talk too long. Someone will say, yes, you did. You could have made this video 3 minutes, but you didn't. And I will say, you're right, I'm the devil. I took too long to say this. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.